Hello everyone. Today's topic is difference between company and partnership form of business. Now, what company is? It is considered as an association of people who come together to form an organization which has a separate legal entity, has a perpetual succession and a common seal. Whereas when we talk about a partnership firm, it is an association of persons who come together to form a business. They bring in their capital, decide to share their profit and losses into a certain ratio, but the identity of the firm and the particular partners, this is not different. So today's topic is all about what are the other differences apart from the basic concept. So there will be certain bases on which we can differentiate between a partnership firm and that of a company. Beginning with the first one is on the basis of mode of creation. So how a partnership firm is formed and how a company is formed. So a partnership firm can be formed when minimum two partners come together and they register their business in the particular act which is known as Partnership Act. Whereas a company can only be formed when people come together and get their business registered in the form of company as per the Companies Act. So on the basis of mode of creation, we can say what are the different acts which govern these two organizations. So partnership is governed by Partnership Act, whereas a company is governed by a Companies Act. Number second, we can say on the basis of members, how many members are required and how many members can be a part of these organizations. So talking about first one, that is a partnership firm. For starting any partnership firm, we require minimum 2 members. Whereas in the form of company business, it is categorized in the form of private company and the public company. In order to start a private company, I require minimum 2 members. Whereas in the form of a public company, if I wish to start my business, the minimum members required is 7. Talking about maximum number of people, how many can I have in both the businesses? In the form of partnership business, the older concept said that I can have my partners depending upon what kind of business I am engaged to. And these business can be categorized into 2 forms. That is, whether I am engaged into a banking business or into a non-banking business. So in the earlier versions, the maximum partners in a banking and non-banking business could be only 10 and 20. Now there is another amendment that was done in 2013 which says that I can have maximum 100 members in my partnership firm, but for that I need to get my partnership firm registered under the Companies Act. So as per in the current data, I can have maximum 100 partners in the partnership firm. Now coming to the company, again going with the same private and the public, just like we did for a minimum number of members. There is a restriction on number of members in the private company. So the number of members that in total I can have in a private company is maximum 200. In the form of public company, there is no limit. So I can have unlimited number of members in the form of shareholders in my public company. Getting to the third basis, on the basis of legal status. Where is partnership firm and where is a company in law? When we talk about a partnership firm, it doesn't have a legal status. That means I can register my business, or I can even, this is not mandatory to get my firm registered under the Partnership Act. But in the form of company, my company can only be formed when I have registered my business as per the Companies Act with the Registrar of Companies of my state. So is there a different legal identity of the firm and of the company? So answer is yes. In the form of company, it enjoys a different status. There is a separate identity of the member and there is a separate identity of the company. Whereas when we compare that to the partnership firm, the identity of the partners and the identity of the partnership firm is both one. So that means they do not have any separate identity. Moving with the fourth particular basis is the liability of the members. Can we have different form of liabilities when we talk about partnership firm and we talk about company form of business? So the members of a partnership firm, that is the partners, their liability is unlimited. That means if the total assets of the firm is being sold off, even if the amount of creditors hasn't been settled, their personal property can be sold off in order to set off the different claims or all the debts. But when we talk about company, the liability is divided into basic three categories. That means the company can have three different liabilities for its members. Number one option is the liability can be limited by shares. Number second, the liability can be limited by guarantee. Or number third, similar to that of partnership, that is unlimited liability. Talking about the number one, that is limited by shares. In this, the member's liability is limited up to the unpaid amount of the nominal value of share. Assuming that a share is, for example, of worth rupees 10. So out of 10 rupees, my liability is only 10 rupees. A company cannot demand me more than rupees 10. Second one is company limited by guarantee. In this, the liability of the members is limited up to the amount which I have guaranteed in the form of written contract with the company that I have done. So my liability is only limited to that particular amount only. Number third is unlimited liability. That means here I have not defined how much a company can charge from me as a member out of my liability. So this one is similar to that of a partnership firm where the liability is unlimited. Company can ask for any amount of liability. Moving with the point number 5, that is the next basis of difference between a firm and the company. It can be said that on the basis of transferability of share. Are the shares of a partnership firm and are the shares of a company freely transferable, or do they have certain restrictions on it? So when we talk about partnership firm, firstly they do not have the concept of shares because their capital has been contributed by all the partners only, and they enjoy certain rights, powers against the others also. So we do not have a concept of shares in the form of partnership. So if a partner wants to sell its own rights, then it requires the permission of the other partners only. Until unless they all agree, I cannot sell off my portion of the stake in the partnership firm. Whereas when we talk about a company form of business, again division is there on the basis of private company and the public company. The rights of the private company, that is in the members that they have in the form of transferability of shares, their right is restricted. Why it is restricted? Because they have a concept of limited number of members that a firm can have. That means a private company can only have maximum 200 members, so they do not have free transfer of their shares. Whereas a public company, they have a total freedom in concept of transferability of shares. That means any member at any point of time, they can sell the share to any person of their choice. They can transfer their shares to any person of their choice. The company does not have any restriction, or neither the other members of the company can have any restrictions on the right of the members. Moving with the further next one, is there a particular relationship between the company and its members, and is there a relation between a partner and the partnership firm? So this particular point is on the basis of agency of members against the firm that they are associated with. So this in simple means, are the members the agent of the company, or are the partnership firm, are the partners of the particular in the that we are talking about, are the partners having a relationship of that of a principal and agent? Now coming to the partnership firm, since the identity of firm and its partners, it's not different. They are both together as one. So a partner is an agent for the company, that is for the partnership firm. A partner is working on behalf of the other partners. A partner is also working on the behalf of its partnership firm. So relationship between the partner and the partnership firm is in the form of principal and the agent. Now who is a principal? Principal is the person who has hired me and on behalf of whom I am going to work. Whereas when we talk about a company form of business, there is no such relationship of principal and agent. Here the relation is on the basis of shareholders and the stake that they have in the company. So are shareholders the agent of the company? No, they are not working on behalf of the company. They have their own identity. Company has a different identity. Company is managed by the representatives of the shareholders, which are known as directors. Moving further, we can have another point on the basis of management. That means who is managing this firm and who is managing this company. So just like I said in the previous point only, a company is being managed by the shareholders. But a single shareholder cannot have all the abilities to run a full-fledged company. That means he may not be having sufficient skills, sufficient knowledge, or he might be located in different parts of the world for which it is not easy to manage the day-to-day affairs of the company. So these shareholders appoint their representatives to run the company, and these people are known as board of directors, who are appointed in the company for a period of 5 years. On the basis of their performance, it is decided that whether they will continue their functioning in the company as a director or they can be asked to leave. Whereas when we are talking about the partnership form of business, it is managed by those people only who have contributed to the capital, that is the partners only. They will have all the rights to run the business. But in the form of company, though the shareholders have given the capital, but they don't run the company. To run the company, they have directors in their place. Next basis we can have on the basis of perpetual succession. Since it is a basic characteristic feature of a company that a company has perpetual succession, which means that my existence will not have any impact on the existence of the company. A company shall remain to be in existence until unless it is being wounded up or it is shut down by the concept of the court, or that is tribunal. Whereas a partnership firm, it is affected by the death, insolvency or exit of any partner from that of a partnership firm. So a partnership firm does not have perpetual succession. Its existence is affected by the existence of its members, that is the partners. Whereas in the form of company business, a company is not affected by the presence or absence of any of its shareholders. It is only affected when it is being shut down through the legal process. Otherwise, it will keep on continuing for an infinite number of years. Next we can say on the basis of powers. Who decides the powers? And there can be any restriction on number of powers in the form of both the organization. So the number one, we to talk about partnership firm, the powers of the partners are decided mutually among the partners only. So there is nothing like there is an external body who's looking after them, who's taking care of them, that they will put up the particular restrictions on amount of what can be the maximum power of these partners only. Whereas when we talk about a firm, that is a company we are talking about, this company, the directors of the company who are running the business, their powers can be limited. They can be limited by 3 basic documents. Number one is company's articles of association, which contains the inner rules and regulations for how to run a company. Number second is memorandum of association. This document tells the basic concept of the company. That means it is defined into 5 basic clauses: name clause, registered office clause, capital clause, object clause and liability clause. So my powers as in particular thing, my functioning of my company is governed as per this document only. Number third and the utmost document is Companies Act. That means the ultimate body to which I as a company need to answer. So the powers of my people can be restricted to these documents. Whereas in the form of partnership firm, there is no specific document to which my powers as a partner can be limited. I need to follow what the other partners are agreeing to it. So there is no such specific document. Whereas in the form of company, they do have one specific document. That is articles of association, that is inner rules and regulations. So my powers can be limited up to this document, and moreover the other two, that is memorandum of association and the Companies Act, which is specific. Next we can talk about, is there any specific mode to dissolve a partnership and that of a company? Any process is there? So yes, in order to dissolve a partnership firm, either it can be in the form of a deadline to which I have made a contract. That is, if I, for example, have made a contract to run into a partnership business for 1 year. So automatically after a period of 1 year, the entire contract dissolves and my partnership firm can also dissolve. Apart from that, if all the partners mutually agree that they do not wish to continue a partnership firm of business, they can exit from the company. So a partnership firm can be dissolved by the will of the partners and its own firm. Whereas a company form of business can only be dissolved, it can only be shut down when shareholders agree to it, and moreover it is approved by the government also. That means in order to get the approval of the tribunal, I firstly require permission of the shareholders. Only then I can move to the second step, that is approaching the tribunal. So there I am bounded by certain laws. It is not on my wish that I can shut down my company at any moment of my time. Next we move to, are there any legal obligations which are supposed to be completed by a company and the partnership firm? So when we talk about a partnership firm, there are lesser legal requirements. That means a partnership firm has to follow lesser rules and regulations, whereas a company has to follow a wide variety of rules and regulations in the form of different annual reports, its audit, submission of different kind of reports and meetings and memos and minutes of the meeting. All these are not required by the partnership form of business, but these are necessary when we are talking about company form of business. So just a quick revision on what were the differences that we did between the partnership and the company form of business. First one was on the basis of creation, how they are created. Second one was on the basis of members, that is minimum and maximum. Number third, do they have legal status? Number four, the liability. Number five, are the shares transferable? Number six, are members and company agent of each other? Number seven, who runs their business, that is who manages their business? Number 8, we have perpetual succession, that the company and the firm enjoy perpetual succession. Number 9, the powers of the people. Number 10, how can that be dissolved? And number 11, the amount of legal obligations. Thank you so much and have a great day. Good morning everybody. Today's topic is difference between private company and the public company. So again, this particular topic shall have certain bases on which we can differentiate between the two. That is how a private company is formed or how a public company is being formed. To begin with the first one, we have the basis as a minimum number of members that are required in a private company and in a public company. So in order to start a private company, I require minimum 2 people. But in order to start a public company, I require minimum 7 people. So this is in the process of registration only. When I'll go to the registrar of companies, I need to have these 2 and 7 members, because until unless I have these 2, I cannot get my business registered into company form. Number second can be on the basis of maximum number of members. How many members in total I can have in a private company and in that of a public company. So in order to have a private company, the maximum number of members is 200. I cannot have more than 200 members in my private company. Now this word 200 doesn't include my employees. This doesn't include any other person. So members here mean shareholders. That means all those who have provided the capital to the company. So a private company can maximum have 200 shareholders. Whereas when we are talking about a public company, there is no limit on the maximum number of members. I can have infinite number of members in my company. Number third is capital. What is minimum amount of capital that is required to start a private company and the public company? In order to start a private company, I require minimum 1 lakh capital. But whereas in order to start a public company, I require minimum 5 lakh capital. Next one is on the basis of minimum number of directors that are required to register a private company and the public company. Minimum number of directors that is required to start a private company is 2. I can have more directors, but minimum at the point of registration there is 2 directors required. But when we are talking about a public company, the minimum number of directors required in the process of registration is 3 directors. With these directors, I can start my business. On the basis of, we can talk about maximum that we say, maximum number of directors are same in both the form of companies. There is no difference between on the basis of maximum number of directors. Next we say about on the basis of transferability of shares. Are shares transferable at all, or are there certain restrictions, or they are not transferable at all? So on the basis of this point, the first is that is private company. The shares are transferable, but with a certain amount of restrictions. That means the shares are restrictively transferred. In order to transfer my share in the form of private company, I need to have the opinion of the other shareholders also. But when we are talking about the transferability of shares in a public company, there is no restriction. There is complete freedom given to the shareholders. Whenever they want to transfer their share, to whomsoever they want to transfer their share, they can be freely transferred. Next we move to prospectus. and is it required in these two companies and what it is used for. So to define that, a prospectus means any document, any advertisement, any notice through which the company can subscribe, like tell the public to subscribe to its share. That is, it is an invitation that you're giving, that come and provide the capital in my company. In a private company, since the maximum number of shareholders can only be 200, it doesn't require any such document to be printed in the general public to be approached by so many people. So a private company does not require any printing of prospectus. It will have its shareholders to subscribe to its shares through the private contacts only. It is not a private placement of share. Private placement of share. That means I am placing the shares to my personal contacts. Whereas a public company, since they can have abundance of shareholders, there is no limit on total number of shareholders, it would require to print this document so that it can approach the general public. Next one is on the basis of retirement of the directors. How they are supposed to retire and what is the total number of quantity of shares that the directors that will retire in a particular phase. Now in a private company, there is no restriction on how many directors are supposed to retire in what year. But in a public company, there is a restriction. That means out of the total number of directors that I have in my company, minimum 2/3 of the total strength of directors, they need to retire by rotation. This word rotation means in every annual general meeting, these directors, they have to vacate their positions. Now it is not said in the company law that those directors who are retired or they are retiring, they cannot be reappointed. They can definitely be reappointed, but they need to vacate their position. Reason is because when you are governing a company which has a huge amount of capital, these directors might indulge into unfavorable practices and use the funds and resources of the company for their personal benefit. So in order to avoid this, there is a provision in companies law which says the directors have to retire for a minimum 2/3 of the total strength need to retire in every year. Next on the basis of the basis is quorum. Now the word quorum means minimum number of people that are present to start a meeting. So when we are talking about a private company, since it can be formed by minimum 2 people, so answer is exactly same. In order to start any meeting, be it annual general meeting or any meeting, I require a minimum 2 people. If 2 people are present, I can start my meeting. But for a public company, it would be injustice because you have so many people in your company, there is no limit. So quorum needs to be fixed that in order to start my any meeting, where all my decision making would be done, all the issues would be discussed. So how many members can I have when I wish to start any meeting to discuss the further issues? So for a public company, it is divided into 3 basic parts. Parting has been done on the basis of members that I have in my company. So these members can range from 0 to 1000, 1000 to 5000 and 5000 and above. So if I am having in a public company members starting from 0 to 1000, that is up to 1000 if I have, I require minimum 5 members to start a meeting. Number second is if my members range from 1000 to 5000, I require minimum 15 people to start any meeting. And for category number 3, that is if I have members above 5000 in my own company, how many particular people are required to start a particular meeting in my company? I require 30. Now why these have been specified? There is a concept. When you are dealing with such a public at large, you want the opinion of everybody to be incorporated, or even if not everybody, but a greater proportion of people should be there to represent their views. That's the only way quorum is decided. That means these number of people need to be present if I wish to discuss something. Now question arises, if I do not have these minimum number of people present in my annual general meeting, then what will happen? So company law also specifies that if I don't have these number of people, my meeting cannot continue. I need to end that meeting very time. So how this meeting can be rescheduled? It is said that in the next week, same day, same time and same place, this meeting can be rescheduled because it didn't have minimum number of people, which is known as quorum. Moving with the next one, can we have a difference on the basis of remuneration I can provide to my directors? Is there a maximum limit? So in a private company, there is no limit. I can give any amount of remuneration to my directors, to my managers, to my whole-time directors, nothing has been said. But when we are talking about a public company, there is a restriction. The total restriction is my total remuneration cannot exceed more than 11% of the total net profit in the last financial year. Now, why this concept is there? Because a public company has a huge amount of capital, huge number of resources at its own disposal. So, if it's going to give a huge amount of money in the form of salaries and remuneration to its employees only, there would be little amount left for the other things, that is to plow back in the business, to provide as a dividend to the shareholders, and for different things. So with this only, there is a restriction of maximum it cannot exceed 11% of the net profits. Next one, we talk about, are companies allowed to accept public deposits? So when we are talking about private company and public company in the form of public deposits, a private company cannot accept public deposit. The reason is because it cannot have more than 200 members, so it will never issue a prospectus. But when we are talking about a public company, it can have infinite number of membership, so there is no restriction on that. A public company can accept public deposits of any amount and from any people, its own choice. So there is no restriction to offer for a public company, whereas when we talk about private company, there are restrictions. A private company is not allowed to accept any public deposits. So let's give a quick revision on the basis of what we can differentiate between private and the public company. First one was the members, that is minimum and maximum. Next we talk about the capital that is required. Then further we talked about the directors, that is minimum number of directors which is required to have a private company and the public company. Then on the basis of transferability of shares, issuing of prospectus, retirement of directors, the minimum quorum required to start a meeting, the total amount of remuneration that I can provide, and finally whether I can ask for public deposits or not. Thank you so much. Have a great day.